Okay, thank you very much to our beloved Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Marcus, for giving me the opportunity. Shabbos is my favorite Masechta, and I thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that that's what we're learning in Yeshiva right now. What's going to happen next Masechta? It's a good question. Baruch Hashem, this Shiur is Lilu Nishmas, like always. My Shiur, my Lilu Nishmas, my father, Menachem Ben Akiva. And this time, it's obviously also for the kidnapped people, for the Chatufim, that it's been almost a year. Unthinkable what these people are going through, and obviously this Shiur and our Torah should be for their quick release and salvation. And obviously for the soldiers who are fighting, we are the soldiers, they are the soldiers. It's all cooperation. Be'ezus Hashem, should see Mashiach now. Basically, this is a few days before Rosh Hashanah. It's the last Thursday of the year. They say the last Thursday of the year is mechaper. Whatever you do now, you should know, can atone for all the other Thursdays, that all the Averis you did in any previous Thursday this year, now you can fix it. Now you can correct it this Thursday. So I'll be mechaper on any bad shiurim I gave. I'll try, and you guys will listen in. Speaking of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Adin has to do very much with Shabbos, because we're judged about how Jewish we are, how committed we are. When it comes to Shabbos, you know, it says that Shabbos is the source of Emunah. The Stipler once, we're going to quote the Stipler quite a lot here. So the Stipler told the boy that had like questions in Emunah, he said, besides answering your questions, what you have to do is be stronger in your Shabbos observance. Shabbos observance is like a segula to believe in Hashem, in the Torah, in a stronger, deeper way, because Shabbos is intrinsically connected to Emunah. We're not going now to the whole philosophy, we don't have time also, but basically, I'm very, very happy that when we schmooze in learning, all of you amazing people, and when I talk to you, also questions come up, and we're actually learning how to keep Shabbos. I always tell you I'm not a posek, but we have halachic questions coming up, you know, the pot and the fire, the chula, open the fridge, the light. It's really happening. Okay, now it's time to start. Thank you very much for the extra photocopying, and thank you for all of you that came here. So basically, we all know that there are 39 melachos in the Mishkan. Yeah, we're not going down there now. It's a Mishnah, Daf and Gimel and Aleph. Very recommended reading for anybody who's learning Shabbos to go through this Mishnah, Daf and Gimel and Aleph, bottom of the page, the 39 Lamites Melachos. And we'll learn them from the Mishkan. The Gemara says in various places that conceptually all these 39 activities took place in the Mishkan, and the Torah juxtaposes Shabbos to Mishkan, yeah, Parshas Vayakel. So we know that anything that from Chazal, from Torah Shabbat Peh, we know that Mishkan and Shabbos are complementing each other. Whatever they did in the Mishkan, you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. Obviously, in the Mishkan, they didn't have microwaves. In the Mishkan, they didn't do many, many things that we do nowadays, or even in the times of the Gemara. And yet, we know that there are many, many things that we do that are not allowed. Many activities are forbidden, even though they did not actually take place in the Mishkan. And everybody knows there's a concept in Shabbos called Av and Tolda. There's a concept called 39 Avos. And each Av has many Toldos. Av is a father. Tolda literally means an offspring or child. We can call it derivative. So there are Avos and Toldos. Avos are the fathers, or in nicer English, it's a prototype. It's like the example, the archetype, the prototype. And every Av has a few malachos. It's such a cool fact to know. The Yerushalmi says that there are 39 Toldos to each Av. That's very interesting. Each Av is 39 Toldos. That's a lot. I don't know how much is 39 times 39, because my math, yeah, but that's why, yeah, I don't know. But maybe you know how much is 39 times 39. It's a lot, many things in allowed to do in Shabbos. The obvious question is, what is an Av and what is a Tolda? Yeah, what Av is what happened in, actually I don't know, I'm not giving you the answer. Av is the real big thing, the original prohibition, so to speak. And from that we figure out ourselves, yeah, if something is similar enough to the Av, it would be a Tolda, would be forbidden. So what's an Av and what's a Tolda? I ran a survey this past week since I was told to give Shiur. I asked my wife, I asked my brother-in-law, I asked men, women that are in my family, so the common answer is, some people said it with much certainty. What do you mean? I learned in Bes Yaakov that what? She told me that Av was in the Mishkan. Anything that wasn't in the Mishkan is a Tolda. That's quite simple, right? That's the common knowledge, that's the common opinion in the street, yeah, by good Jews. And it is not wrong. It's not wrong. According to in Daf and Gimel Beis, according to the Rach, Rabbeinu Hananel, and the Ramach, Ramoshe Cohen, brought down by the Noise Kelim on the Rambam. It's not in the source sheet. They say that those 39 types of malachas that are mentioned in the Mishkan, plowing, sowing, v'chule, reaping, they happen in the Mishkan. Anything else, even things that are quite similar to that, are not Avos, they're Toldos. Avos are those that actually took place in the Mishkan. Things that did not take place in the preparation of the Mishkan itself, they are called Toldos. Okay, that's one way. And we're not concentrating on that shita. That would have made life much easier, but that's the case there. That's what they say, Rach and Ramach. But unfortunately or fortunately, most Rishonim seem to disagree with that. Most Rishonim give a broader definition to an Av, and now it gets complicated how to define Av and Tolda. So let us see what Rashi says. Again, it's not in the source sheet. I'll start with Rashi and then we'll see in the Rambam inside. Rashi says, and now please remember, I wish I had a whiteboard here, but I don't, so you guys have to, open the whiteboards in your minds. And we have in Dafin Gimel Mud Beis, the Gemara talks about Zorea, sowing, planting in the ground, and 5 different activities, all similar. They all have to do with the malacha of Zorea. Zorea means to sow seed in the ground. Zorea. The Gemara says Zorea, notea. Zorea is when you put the seed inside. The small little grain seed kernel you put inside of wheat, barley, that's Zorea. Notea is when you plant. What's the difference between sowing and planting? Planting, you take a sapling, small tree, and you insert it in the ground. It's already a little tree. You move it from one place to the other, and you reinsert it in the ground. That's called notea. Then you have mavrich and markiv. That's grafting. Grafting, there's a tree, and you put a branch, and you graft it, like transplanting. Like you do to human beings also in different ways. You transplant, you graft some branch into the tree, and then it grows better. They do it near Eilat. I once went to a tour there, and they showed us how they do it to make it younger, better, or prettier, or whatever that is. And you have markiv, you have mavrich, that's another one, which I'm not going to right now. And then you have one called, that's the star of the show today, drum roll, there's a malacha called zoimer. Zoimer in English is called pruning. Pruning means when you cut off a branch in order to make the branch grow better, nicer, bigger. They do to rose bushes a lot, actually, that I remember from my childhood in Tel Aviv. They would cut the rose bush in order, and then the other roses will come even nicer and better. And all these are I'm not saying if they're Avatolda, they're all chayev because of Zorea. They're all connected to Zorea. So now, if I was, according to the Rabbeinu Hanan el Ramach, Zorea took place in the Mishkan. They would sow seeds, in order to plant what? To plant the dyes, very good, the herbs for the dyes. There was no, according to most Rishonim, they did not plant anything in the Mishkan. They didn't do all this grafting, all the other crazy stuff, no Zoimer. So all other things should be a Tolda, right? The Av is only the one who took place in the Mishkan. That's what? That's Zorea. Everything else should be a Tolda. Life would have been much simpler and would have gone home and finished, start our break. But no, apparently Rashi says that Zorea and Notea both are Avos. Zorea, which took place in the Mishkan, he's the head of the family. The one who took place in the Mishkan, that's for sure an Av. That's the big boss. That's the archetype. Notea, what's Notea? I take a sapling and I place it in the ground, and that's also called an Av. Even though it did not take place in the Mishkan, it's called an Av. Why? Says Rashi, listen, Ze Av B'Zroim, Ze Av B'ilonis, that's a father for the Zroim to sow all the seeds, be it tomato or, papaya, whatever that is. And the Ilonois, the other one, is Zorea. Notea is the father of the Ilonois. I would call it's like a brother. In other words, it also has the status of an Av. Okay, and who's the Tolda? According to Rashi, a Tolda is the one of the 5, which is the Tolda, is the pruning. Pruning is not an Av, it's already one step removed, it's called a Tolda, and that is Zoimer. Zoimer, when you prune, you cut, and then it slowly and nicely grows back, grows even better and nicer. That's already called a Tolda. I'm just telling you facts now, that's what Rashi. Now, let's have a look at the Rambam. Let's look at the Rambam, in the source sheet over here. The Rambam says V'chen ha-zorea zoim, gimel. Yeah, it says, v'chen ha-zorea zoim, or notei ilonos. Zoim, ilonos, that's sowing, that is planting, or mavrich ilonos. Mavrich means you're grafting, or mavrich is not, by the way, mavrich is, it's called propagating. In English, is when you take a tree and you bend it all the way into the earth. You take a branch, a long branch, you basically bend it into the ground, and then a new tree comes out. What?
Using the grapevines.
Grapevines to do it? True. There was another tool, yeah? Right. The grapevines, thank you, Yeshiva. They put it in the ground, the branch, and then a new grapevine comes out. Baruch Hashem, prove. And then the fifth one, and then is what? Oiha zoimer. Zoimer is the one when you prune, you cut, and boom, it grows. Kol elu av echade. They're all av. The Rambam believes that all of them is av melocho. Ve'inyan echad hu. It's all inyan echad. It's one business, one idea, one issue, one topic. Shekol achas men letzemech davar miskaven. Because the kavana, the idea is in all five, what you're trying to do is cause and encourage growth. You want something organic to grow, and therefore all of them are Avos. They're not Toldos. Now the question is, what's a Tolda? So now the Rambam later on says, the Rambam says, one second. I will not quote the Rambam. Look at the Locho Hey. Look at the Locho Hey. Alocha in the Rambam. Hatolda hi amelocha. It's the next piece. Hatolda amelocha hadoim el av me'elo avos. I'm not reading further for now. A tolda is a melacha which is similar to any of those avos, right? It's similar. Now this is very interesting. Now I'm stopping right now, and I'm absolutely confused. I'm confused. You know why? Because I was taught in Yeshivas to be logical and to have everything mugdar. Everything has to be defined. Let's stop a second and recap. Anybody that wants to rejoin the Shiur, now's the time. So 1 second. There are 3 levels. There's something that happened in the Mishkan that's an Av. He was in the Mishkan. He is the real deal. He belongs to the top elite 5-star Emerald Club. Yeah? Do I sound like some of the American Airlines? Yeah, he is the top. This is the Baruch Hashem. He was really there. Okay? That's the Av Malocha is in the Mishkan. Then you have the other guys that are very similar to the Av, right? Such as Notea, right? The one who's planting the tree. That's similar enough, it's half a snob. He's not the top of the family, the top of the group, but he's similar enough to the real deal to be still called an Av, right? And then you have those who are, they just about made it into the club. The Toldos, they're also similar to the Av, but not similar enough. Now they're similar enough to be called a Tolda, and if you do it on Shabbos, by the way, I didn't even say it because I assume you all know that Av and Tolda, there's no halachic difference, except for one time which we don't hold by. If you do an Av or a Tolda, it's the same thing. B'meizid, chas v'shalom, chayav kores. They're the same, the level of chumrah, right? They're all the same. Elamai, the Tolda is not something that is automatically written anywhere. I mean, it wasn't in the Mishkan, but it's similar enough, but not very similar. So it's called Tolda, not an Av. Again, the real Av, the head of the thing, was in the Mishkan. The other Avos, they are very similar, like planting, like pruning is machlokas. Like the other ones, that's also an Av. They're so similar, they're mamish like the real deal. They all have the crown of an Av. And a Tolda is something which is similar to them, and therefore it's still in the club. It's chayv, it's terrible, it's Isser Doraisa, but it's only a Tolda. And my question is, we're not in high school anymore. You're all Choshev Yeshiva Bachrim, and you're absolutely not going to accept it when I say an Av is very similar, and a Tolda is less similar. Like, what do you mean very or a little bit? Yeah? Right? You're not in first grade. What do you mean this is very similar, this is a little bit similar? Please give me, we're in Yeshiva now, in Yeshiva Kedosha. Yeah? Give me a clear Hagdara, give me a definition. That's the job today. That's going to be our job today. What do you call? What makes you go into the club, to the Chosheva club of being an Av? What does it mean when it's less similar, but similar enough to be just a Tolda? By the way, very, very sadly, or actually very fortunately for us, some kids are not accepted to the club at all. Heartbreaking. Mamish excommunicated, which means that our malachos, They're a little bit similar to the Avos of the Mishkan, but they're not similar enough bichlal. They didn't even make it to the club. They're not even a Toldos. I'll give you an example. I'm running ahead now a little bit, but on purpose. And I'll tell you, there's a very interesting machlokes between the Ramah, who quotes the Ma'aril, who quotes the Ozarua, the Choshev, all the Ashkenazi Rishonim, quoted by the Ramah. The Ramah says, I'm not going to, there won't be a show and tell. Won't be a show and tell. But let's say you go in a windy area, and you like, for whichever reason, don't do that at home, yeah? You spit in the middle of the street for whichever reason, and you really enjoy watching the example, but that's example. You like to watch the spit or the saliva, like, kind of spraying all over, yeah? Like there goes all over the place to like dissipate and be scattered all over the place. Says the Ramah, besides other reasons, it's an Isur D'Oraisa. It's an Isur D'Oraisa to do that on Shabbos. Even if your neighbor Tim McKenzie or Tom McKinley are not near you, even that's for sure you shouldn't do it. Yeah, but right, you're not allowed to do it at all on Shabbos. It's a Tolda, Chiyuv D'Oraisa. You get skill for that. Yeah, don't do it at home. Don't do it anywhere. Why? Because that's a Tolda of Zoire, not Zoire. Zoire. Zoire means winnowing. Now you know what it means. Zoire, winnowing. Okay, you know what's winnowing. What's winnowing? Winnowing is when you lift up, you pick up the grains with a chaff in it, with a skin, and then the wind takes away the thing, the light, the klipa, the light chaff, and the heavy the heavy grains, they fall back to the ground. The only reason you know about it because you learned it in Shabbos, right? You saw it when you prepared for Shabbos. You know what Zoyre. That's called Zoyre. The Ramah believes that this is a Tolda of Zoyre. Why? Just like over there, you're using the wind to scatter something. Yeah, and you're having a lot of fun because it's all scattered all over the place, meaning the klipa, the bad stuff, the chaff, the skin, whatever you want to call it, is out and it's flying in the wind and you're using the wind for that. So too, when you, for whichever reason, you spit and you wanted to dafka fly away all over the place to like spray out, that's also told of Zohar and Yuchayv. So says the Ramah. Says Rabbi Akiva Veger, I don't want to say whatever, to be very strong, he says, nonsense, not at all, nothing, don't be cautious. Eber says, nothing at all. It's not similar to Zohar. Zohar, it's all about separation. Here, not separating anything. Okay, I'm not going now to this question, I'm just coming to show you that here is an action called spitting. They didn't spit in the Mishkan, you know that, yeah? And even if they did, it doesn't make a difference according to Rabbi Eber. In other words, some malachos, it's a question whether the malacha is similar enough to the Av to be called a malacha, or maybe it's not similar, so it's out of the club, and you're allowed to do it. L'chatchila, you're allowed to do it according to Rabbi Eber. According to Ramah, it's a chiv d'oraisa, unbelievable. Right? The question is this action similar enough to what was done in the Mishkan to be called even a Tolda? Or maybe it's so different already, it's out of the club, out of the group. Again, our question remains, what do you call an Av to make it very similar? And what's called a Tolda, which is a little bit similar? That's the question. Finally, let's make use of our nice sources over here, the source sheet. Look at the first one. This is Alma Meltzer, says as follows. The topic quoted by the Steitler, Kilos Yaakov, Siman Lamed Zayin. Kol mekabetz chelik al chelik. Talks about boina, building on Shabbos. What does building mean? Kol mekabetz chelik al chelik, v'dibeg hakol ad she'asu guf echad. You mekabetz. Mekabetz niduchenu ma'arba kanfei ha'oretz. Right? We are collecting and connecting. You're connecting, you are assembling many different pieces until they become one body. That is similar to binyan. What does it mean? Right? In other words, how do you build a house? You take many pieces, bricks and mortar, different bricks, and then windows and glass, steel, whatever, black glass, steel, whatever you want to build, and what? You build them, you assemble them, you connect them all together until what's the result? A house. I'm skipping, you can look at it if you want, I'm skipping the next bold lines towards the end. Ubei suge Toldos yesh lo boine. Echad oil belo kibutz chalokim, v'asheni kibutz chalokim belo oil. Which means, let's separate and this is now the main part of the shiur. Let's separate each malacha, and actually any action you do in the world, especially actions of Shabbos, that all have an effect, a result, you have to separate it into two different things. One is the action, and the second one is the result. What do you do? And what did you achieve? What is boine? Boine means two things. You collected many things together, a brick and another brick, and you put plaster and you put whatever, the cement, right? And that's what you do. You collect and you connect and you bring and you assemble, they're all brought together. And then what happens finally one sunny day, Baruch Hashem, yeah? What happens then when the Kablan finally finished the job? Rara is laughing because we know how it works in Eretz Yisrael. You finish the build, actually built quite quickly here. And then what? Now you have a house, you have a roof over your head, amazing, very nice. Okay? That's boina. The Rambam says, here's something fascinating, and that is in Halacha Vov. Look in the first wide line in Halacha Vov. The Rambam says something very interesting. Im gibnoi, yeah? Halacha Vov in the first wide line, in the middle. Im gibnoi, when you make cheese, why aren't you allowed to make cheese on Shabbos? There are many levels, there are many stages to making cheese. At some point, you have these, like, the way I understand it, you have pieces of curd that are, like, floating all over in the whey. You know, the way you do, Jim? Yeah, you use the whey, right? Yeah, the whey, right? And the pieces of curd are all over the place. What do you do, says the Rambam? Chayiv mishum boine. Wow. You chayiv because of building. If you collect all the pieces of potential cheese together, right? And now you have one nice piece of cheese, you chayv because of boine. So says the Rambam, shekol mekabetz chelek el chelek, v'dibek akol ad shesu guf echad, reizu dom el binyan. If you connect everything, the idea of boine is when you bring many things together, you assemble them, now you have one gelled piece, one united thing. What's the story? That is the Toldos of boine. The Rambam in a different place says, the Rambam that's not quoted over here, in Perek Yud, he says that a person who builds an ohel, he builds a tent. Yeah, he went camping with a tent maybe. Yeah, he built a tent. The tent is one piece tent. That tent, even if it's an oil keva means it's a tent that's meant to stay there for a very, very long time, and it's a stable thing. Yeah, this is like an all year round camping site, and the tent is going to be there for a long time. Yeah, I'm not sure the oil keva exactly, I'm not going to all the details, but it's not one of these things that you disassemble after half a minute because the mosquitoes are bothering you too much. You go home. We're talking about a real tent here, and building a tent by basically placing it over your head, right, like that. That's also a tolda of boine. So listen, boine has two weird toldas. One of them is making cheese. That's a tolda of boine. That's interesting because collecting the pieces. The other tolda is when you take something strong and big, you have like real strong awning, whatever, and you put it over your head in a stable way, right? And now it's touching the ground and in a way that it's not going to move there for a long time. It's a tolda of boine. Now, why is it only a tolda of boine to make a tent? Let's say the tent is very big and strong and it will be there for the next 5 years. It's still considered to be a tolda of boine? Not enough. So both the cheese and the tent over your head, they're not in the elite group of bone. What are they? They're tolda. Why? Says Risa Zalman Meltzer very, very clearly. He says, yeah, okay, we don't have the whole thing over here. Yeah, look, now let's look in the middle. He says, look at the third line of the first source. Ha'av melocha de boine asiyas oil keva. The av melocha of boine is when you make an oil keva, a set oil, a tent that's there forever or for good, which means when you build a house or a tent or whatever, there are two factors. The action, I'm assembling many things, and the result, I have a roof over my head. That's the av. Now, however, it continues. Let's say you made the oil, now listen to this. When I made the tent, I did not connect two pieces. There's one piece only. I did it very strong. Or let's say you have a pergola, yeah, and then you have this awning on top. There are no two pieces. You just tied it to the cement, to the walls. You didn't connect two pieces that are movable. Then you have something very strong and big, but you didn't connect two pieces, only one. Right? That's a tolda. Why? The nisha soil keva al kolponim loso likibut cholokim ha'ablosas guf echad. You did not collect many pieces. You have one piece. So the action of assembling you don't have. You only have a result. Umegaben, have you told them, Mishum Dei Yishkat Kibbutz Chalokim, Lasas Dover Echad, Mikomkom Ein Kan Oil. When you make cheese, it's similar to the father, to the Av, in what way? In the action, but not in the result. According to, if life was simple, we could just stay with this, Zalman Meltzer, and this is, whenever I teach about Avos and Toldos, that's where I like to that's the way, that's a very good, easy way to go about. The Steipler argues on certain points on the Rishon Zalman, but he still says the Dvorov of Mesukim, such sweet words. Let's summarize. It's so simple. You know who are the ones who are in the top group, in the elite group, together with the real Av, the real snobs, the five stars, those? They are the ones who are similar to the action of the Mishkan, both with the action, and they're similar in the result. Very good. For example, Notea. When I take a kernel, I take a seed, and I put it in the ground, what am I doing? I'm putting something in the ground, something organic, something that's going to grow in the ground. That's the action, look, in the ground. And what's my matara? What's my goal? What's my purpose? Hashem, please make this grow. I want this tree, this thing, or this tomato to grow. And that is extremely similar to Noitea. Noitea shares with the real Av both action and purpose. I'm putting something organic. It's a tree, a sapling, could be not so small, not that tall, it's a sequoia sapling. And what? And you put it in the ground. The action is very similar. I put something in the ground, organic, and I hope and pray it will grow to. That's it. The similarity is so great, but both action and result, that made it to the elite group of Avos. And so too by building. If I build anything that's livable, I'm ignoring now certain types of binyan on purpose. Now let's say I build something, I connect different pieces. Let's say modern building is very different, yeah? Today, they have these things from China, right? These homes that come ready. Yeah, there is such a thing, yeah? Like a caravan or something. I connect it in a way that was very different to the Mishkan. But I connect pieces? Yes. What's the result? A house. Yes. You tick both boxes, you're in the group, you're in Av. But making cheese is a Toldo. Because it's only similar what? It's only similar in the action, not in the result. Who wants to live in the cheese? Who lives in the cheese? Worm, right? I'm not a worm, right? So therefore, it's not, the result is very different, but the action is the same, so it's a Tolda. Or the oil, the one piece oil, is also, you missed it, it's not going to be in the top of the group, it's going to be, secondary. It's a Tolda. Why? Because the result is the same. That oil can be very strong. In this pergola, you have a very strong, thick kind of piece over there, but at the end of the day, the action is different, because you did not connect two pieces, only one piece. And that's why it's a Tolda. Ad Kan, that would be very nice, and that's Ad Kan, a Kofa Aleph, that's a Bissel Zalman Meltzer. Okay? That's one way. The problem is that Zoymer, pruning, is a hard kid. He's a hard kid. Zoymer, if you noticed, is a machloikes between Rambam and Rashi. So what the Bissel Zalman Meltzer said could work very, very nicely with Zoymer. Turn the pages, please, and look at this thing, Mikstav Rashi. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not according to order. Yeah, Lechem Mishnah says, Kavanas Zoymer Kedei Sheitzmach, Afal Pishem Hafachim B'Peulos. Yeah, I won't make you translate, like I always torture you when we do one-on-one. This time I'll translate for a change. I'm going to work on my Hebrew a little bit. Kavanas Zoymer Hi, the meaning of Zoymer, why do you prune that beautiful rose bush? Kedei Sheitzmach. Your purpose, your idea is what? You want it to grow. Afal Pishem Hafachim B'Peulos. Zoymer is the opposite, not only different, it's the stark opposite of what? Of Zorea. When I do Zorea, what do? The action is putting in, adding, putting, placing, right? It was empty, I'm putting. The action is I'm putting in. And what's the purpose? Please Hashem, I want a beautiful rose bush to grow. When I have the rose bush and I take one, with the scissors, I cut off the branch, I'm doing the opposite. The action is very different, right? I'm removing, I'm taking away, right? I'm cutting and cutting off. So the pe'ula, the action is very different, but the result is the same. I want from that spot to have even nicer and better roses growing, right? So according to Bissel Zalman Meltzer, that is the ultimate, typical, classical Tolda. It shares with the Av, with the real Av. It's sharing what? It's sharing the purpose and not at all the action. And that's why Rashi, out of all 5 malachos, and I wish I had more time to go into that, but Lamaisa, it's all very nice. Zoymer is so different to the Av in the action, but so similar in the result. That's why it's a Tolda. It shares with the Av one of the two. One box is ticked and the other one is not. Hello, that's a Tolda for you, says the Mr. Zalman Meltzer. And if we lived in the world without the Rambam, then everything would have been, in that respect, good. However, the Rambam, I showed you the Rambam. You look at the Rambam again. Don't believe me? The Rambam says the Rambam again. Alochi Gimel. V'chen es Zorai Zroim. V'notay Elonis. Gimel. Yeah, in the source sheet Gimel. If you Zorai Zroim. Notay Elonis is when you plant the saplings. Mavrich Elonis is when you do the propagating of the vine. That's what Yeshivas said. Or Markiv is when you graft. Oh, Zoymer. Upa. Did you hear that? Rambam says that Zoymer is an Av. He only begins to talk about Toldos later. So according to the Rambam, Zoymer, which is extremely different to the Av, is also an Av. Oops. How did he sneak into the club? ID, please. How old are you? 18? You're lying to me? How did he make it into the club, Mr. Zoymer? He's underage. What's he doing here? He doesn't live in the neighborhood at all. Yeah, the Zoymer. How did the Zoymer? You want to drink tonight? Where does your mother know you're here? Or what's going on here? Why is the Zoymer, why is the Zoymer here in the club of what? Of Avos. Zoymer is extremely different when it comes to the action. He should be a Toldos. Okay, he's allowed into the club, but not to the top. No, not to the top level. He's allowed where? He's a Toldos. And the Rambam says he's an Av. Shem Shemaim. What's going on over here, right? Big problem. Agreed? Is everyone with me in the question? I repeat the question? Yeah? No. Yes, repeat. No what? Shall I repeat? No that I should repeat? What?
I don't need you to repeat.
Okay, fine. Say that. He's a producer, so I'm saying I have to follow his orders, right? Okay, do I stand? Okay. Very good, thank you. Change the time? Okay, now let's go into a more fine-tuned definition. And now let's have a look at the next piece of the source sheet, Magid Mishnah, at the bottom of the page. Yeah, this is word for word, Magid Mishnah. Veda, I'm not reading the Rambam inside on purpose. Let's read Magid Mishnah, and then we'll see the Rambam again. Veda shekavanos Rabbeinu hi. What Rabbeinu, the Rambam, means to say, shekol melacha shidoim elav b'dimyon gomu. Any melacha that's similar to the father, the real father, the grandfather, the one who was in the Mishkan, that's similar, b'dimyon gomu, complete similarity. El shechaluk mimena be'echus ha'pe'ula on be'echus ha'nifal rezu av kamoisa. Interesting. Only if it's different in the quality of the pe'ula, of the action, or the quality of the object that it's done to, that is an av. Whatever that means, that needs explanation, right? Aval melocha domela b'miktsas, only if the melocha is a little bit similar to the original melocha of the Mishkan, zoynikas tolda. That's tolda. Okay, for me that's almost Chinese, because again, what do you mean different quality? The av is very similar, but different quality something, right? So something a little bit different, and the Tolda is only similar b'miktsas. It's a little bit similar. Back to square one. What do you mean very similar, a little bit similar? What does it mean? So explains the Magid Mishnah with an example. I'll give an example. Koitzav, the third one, harvesting, picking. In Hebrew, there are many words for picking fruit off the tree because they're done a little bit differently. Yeah, a koitzel, somebody who harvests, who actually reaps the wheat. That's one thing. Boitzel, Ravari mentioned in grapes. Boitzel is to harvest grapes. If it's about tamarim, dates, it's called goidel. If it's for figs, it's called oire. Yeah, they're all very similar. However, there is a slight difference. Chalukim anif'olim. In other words, this is a fig tree, and this is wheat. Obviously, wheat is very different to a fig tree. They're different. So my action has to be slightly different. Here, go like this with a sickle. It used to be like they do that maybe in Afghanistan nowadays. Yeah, like that. Or the fig tree, you go and you pick it in a different way. I once went carrot picking. You know, when you have little kids, you go to all the crazy, things in the world, and it's very interesting. You basically have the stick, and you hit the tree like that, and then it falls down. Interesting. So each one is a little bit different. Depending on the material at hand, right? But the similarity is still hemedimion gomor. It's still very, very similar, right? I'm going to skip that on purpose. He says, I wish I had more time. Let's skip the stage. Let's turn the page. Aval, but. What's ktsas dimion? What does it mean that the told is a little bit different? Oh, finally we're getting there. Kigon mechatich ask you. I want to ask you a question. If you ever prepare salad on Shabbos, you go, I don't know, camping, salad, at Zimmer, whatever. You go and you make salad on Shabbos. A few things you have to know. One of the things you have to know when you make salad on Shabbos is you're not supposed to cut the whatever, I don't know what you have in your salad, Israelis, cucumber, whatever, tomato, that's what we have. So your cucumber and tomatoes, you should not cut, don't dice it very fine. You have to make sure that the pieces are thick. To be on the safe side, even thicker than the way you cut them during the week. Why? Because when you cut something like a vegetable to real thin pieces, like you dice it, it's a tolda of toichen. It's a tolda of grinding. That's interesting. Says the Magen Mishnah, you cut the vegetables to fine pieces. It's not really similar to grinding, right? Ask somebody in the street that's grinding. They share one thing in similar, and that is you take one body. In the case of grinding, you took wheat, and from one piece you made many pieces that are smaller. So too, when I take the cucumber into smaller pieces, and it serves me the purpose of the menu of the recipe, that is similar also to toichen. Continues the Magen Mishnah, the tchina, the grinding, changed the first body to a way that's unrecognizable anymore. You don't see the connection between the chit of the kernels and the kemach and the flour. It's very different. And cutting doesn't do that. You can still tell that's a tomato just cut into pieces. However, though you told that, let me explain to you the way I understand it. I want to know feedback afterwards from the Rosh Yeshiva. The way I understand it is as follows. And later I'll be medaked from the Rambam. We have in modern language what we call narrow definition and a broader definition. When you define toichen, ask a guy in the street, an intelligent guy, from anywhere, how do you define grinding? He would either tell you grinding means turning something, like pulverizing it, turning it into mamish powder, right? Whatever the powder is. That's one definition. That's a definition. If that was a definition of toichen, that cutting the tomato into small pieces would be allowed. Because that's a narrow definition of toichen. But if you take the broader definition of toichen, and you just give the same action exactly, a bigger definition of, as the Magen Mishnah says, of taking something big and making it small, according to Many Rishonim, toichen only applies to foods, to gidul karka, because you're actually preparing it for the next stage of the recipe. That's a broader definition. You took the big thing and made it smaller to help you weiter in the cooking or the whatever in the eating. That already is a broader definition. So those things that fit the narrow definition, with just looking at the thing itself, either by action or by result. Listen to what I'm telling you now. The Rambam is not good with Rabbi Zalman Meltzer. According to the Rambam, if the action is similar to the original one, either by action or by result, there's still an av, as long as the similarity is very clear. In other words, let's look at result. Let the camera now focus on that rose bush which I'm cutting, and I'm doing pruning now. Lemaisa, the result is very, very similar. Here I have a tree growing up from the ground, just from the seed, and here I have a branch that I cut, and it also grew. But that growing is almost identical. Mashe'enken, the grinding, is only similar if I broaden the definition of toichen. Then that allowed more kids into the club, that allowed more mlochas to the club, and then I can say also making small pieces. Let's have a look at the Rambam now to support what I'm saying. Look at how the Rambam talks. It's a diuk the Rambam lochavov. Go back to the cheese. Lochavov in the middle. The im gibnoi v'asog v'nechai v'shaboyne. You took cheese, right? You didn't take the cheese yet. You're making now the cheese from the small pieces of curd. You're connecting them. Yichai because of boine. Okay. You know why? Whenever you connect, piece to piece together, you assemble. You stuck them all until they gelled into one piece. What does Rambam say? It doesn't say binyan. Which means, even after all the philosophy of looking at it the same, come on. I'm sorry to be superficial now, But to make cheese, in many ways, is very different to build a house. So the Rambam says, even if you look at the action of collecting, which Mr. Zalman is the same, it's really not the same. With the way you build a house, there's a brick, and there's cement, there's pestle and mortar, there's stuff, there's a window. It's still very different to collecting pieces of cheese, which will be edible, which are becoming something so different. So even in that point, even the similarity of action to action, which we spoke about, even there, it's only similar but not identical. Even there, you have to have a broader definition of building and say, no, it's building. Building has nothing to do with something so constricted. Building is really any kind of connecting that creates any new being. That's a very broad definition, right? We completely now we're broadened the stage, and many more things can come in, because we're talking about connecting things to create a thing that is doime, that is a dimion. If I would have stayed with building in a narrow definition, cheese would be out of the story. Okay? That's in short, and we can talk about much more, but that's in short the way it is. Milking a cow. There are 9 different shittas Rishonim why you're not allowed to milk a cow or a goat on Shabbos. Many of them say it's dash. What's dash? Dash is when you take out the thing out of the kernel. Threshing, right? Thank you very much. Threshing, when you take the kernel, poof, out of the chaff. And the milk, you take the milk out of the udders, out of the cow. Again, you need to have broad mind to see the big picture of I'm taking something out of its origin in order to have something ready for me. Milk, kernels, cow, chaff, they're all very different. I don't know if to continue on a more practical level and more lumdish. 1 second. Okay, we still have a few more minutes. As general information, before we continue to the last point, a bit of a pause. This part is going to be a little bit easier. So far, what have we said? There are 3 shittas. Let's summarize. The first shitta is what? Is the Ramach and the Rach. They say only those that are in the Mishkan are an Av. Everybody else is a Tolda. Tick. Very good. Second shitta, Rabbi Zalman Meltzer works very nicely with Rashi, that a Tolda is similar to the Av, to the original Av, either in the action or in the result, right? An Av, a brother Av, is similar both in action and in result. That's the second one. The Rambam, no. The Rambam says, even if it's similar in one way, but the similarity is clear and visible and evident, then even if it's only one, Pa'ula or Tetzah, you are Chayv as an Av. If it's only similar by a broader definition, there's still some kind of distance. You have to give the action of the Mishkan. By the way, when I say broader definition, depends on Chazal. And Chinami. Each malach is defined by Chazal differently. I wouldn't say that Teuchen is that cutting is Teuchen, because I wouldn't have defined it. So Chazal defined it that way. It's actually Mechlokes Rishonim, I think, there in Dafin Talmud and Beis. Now, let's talk about a different type of Tolda. Tam, as a general knowledge, it also appears there in the stipler. The Gemara in Daf Kuv Beis with Beis says that according to Rav, if one has a chicken coop, you have chicken, and the guy has a chicken coop where the chicken live there, and you make a hole, you perforate a hole in that chicken coop, you chai because of boine. Oopsie. First of all, I didn't connect anything. I didn't put pieces together, right? I did not create a house. Let's say they could live there without it. That's also a debate, yeah? I'm making it nicer for the chicken, animals' rights. What's the most choshev value in the world, yeah? So now I'm making it nicer for the chicken, by perforating a hole. Now they can breathe better, do it better. Some said they couldn't live without it, I know, but I'm saying that's a shaila. Why am I chai because of boine? Why is it a told of boine? I didn't connect anything. I didn't put the roof over anyone's head. They had the roof there already. So here comes the third type of tolda. Stam as an aside, it's important to know. And that is, the stipler says, when you improve, you enhance and you improve and you continue an existing thing, it's also tolda. You have a house and you improve something in the house, that is also boina. You should know that. If you have let's say a loose screw on the wall, or whatever that is, a nail, and you make it you tighten it, it could be boina. It could be boina d'oraisa. I'm not a paisik, but as far as I know, big shayla. Why? Because that helps the house. You continue the building of the house by making it beautiful. The Gemara says you have a hole in the let's say dining room. Your dining room is just made out of sand, like back then, without any. It's not tiled, and there's a hole, and you fill in the hole indoors. It's called boina. You're improving the looks of the house and the functionality of the house. It's also a tolda. For example, megis, bishul. We learned bishul. Yeah, megis is when you give that extra, stirring. You stir the pot in order to make it cook quicker, better. Everything is quicker, better that way. Says Rashi Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis, ubemevushal havi bishul. Even if the item is already cooked, kemacha ben dorsoi, it's already cooked, but you make it cook better, bigger, not bigger, but better and quicker. It's also a tolda of bishul. That's another tolda. That's not to do with us, but also the same thing applies to other things. But I'm not going there now. We don't have time. The final thing is, if you notice, still a problem in the Rambam. There's still a problem in the Rambam. I don't know if he followed, but even if we leave Rabbi Zalman answer alone, the Rambam is still giving us a hard time. And that'll be the final question, the final punchline, and then we'll daven mincha. Now, if you don't have any questions, ask the Meshiv. Yeah? Now, question number 1, and actually the last one for today, question number 20. The Rambam says that zoimel. What's zoimel? When you prune, and the action is different, but the result is the same. What is it? An av. When it comes to building the tent, but just spreading the tent over your head, one-piece tent, the result is, I have a house. It's good, it's beautiful, it's a strong one. Like today, strong, perks, like plastic, could be wood, something real strong. One piece over your head, boom, strong and good and big. It's a tolda of boina. Why is it a tolda? Just like zoimel is similar in what? Is similar in one way, in the result, and it's an av, so to the oil. The oil, the tent on my head, should also be an av. And Rambam says it's a tolda. Oops. So the Rambam should make up his mind. Says the Steipler, I see guys are coming to Mincha. Says the Steipler, and he argues with Mr. Zalman. He says no. The reason why oil is really more inferior. Oil is never as good as a real home. Why? A home, he says, a house, a bayis, the way it's defined in halacha, is mechubar lekarka. You have the foundation stuck in the ground. That's a house. And oil touches the ground, but it's not inserted inside. That now is very, very good. That's exactly what we said all along. A real bayis is when I have a home, a house, that's with the foundations, with the walls, really inside. That's a desired result, and anything similar to that quality would also be an av, make it to the top of the club. But an oil, which is always a bit more inferior, because it's only touching the ground but not inserted inside, and halacha puts a lot of emphasis on things that are mechubar lekarka as opposed to not, for tumah, for many things. Because it's lower quality, that's why it's a tolda. Because you share the same result, the result is the same, so it would have been an av. But oops, it just missed being in the av club because the result is not as good, not as qualitative as the one of the Mishkan, and therefore you need a broader definition. It's not only a house. When you think of a house, what do you think? Yeah, I know there are crazy houses, tree house, a normal house we live in, the foundation is in the ground. That's a normal house. We have to broaden the definition to say any kind of protection over my head. That's a broader definition, protection over my head, That's already a broader definition, which allows a lower quality of oil. That's why oil is a tolda, not an av. Okay, if you want, I can email you the shiur. It's in Hebrew, the whole thing, with many more things we didn't have time to say. Thank you very much, Yeshiva. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you all, guys. Any questions or comments? I'm here on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday also, I think. And Bezos Hashem, thank you. Thank you for the video. Adam, thank you very much.